So you want to learn crochet but don't know where to start? Don't worry, I've got you. You will need some scissors, a crochet hook, a stitch marker and some yarn. For this video I will be using some chunky yarn that is red just so you can see it better on the camera, and also worth noting that if you are using smaller yarn then it is going to need a small crochet hook, so just be aware of that when you do start crocheting, that you need to get the right hook. So the first thing we're going to do is get our yarn onto our hook. There are many different ways to do this, but this is the way I've always done it. So I start by wrapping the yarn around my finger and then I make an X, as you can see. I then use the tail of the yarn to wrap it back around the front of my finger, and then pinching it with my middle finger and thumb to keep it in place, I then get the back loop and pull it over my finger and it makes this hook. From this point, just simply get your crochet hook and pop it into the loop, and then you want to pull the two tails gently together. You don't want this so tight that you can't move it up and down your hook. It needs to be able to have a bit of movement. The next important step is to learn how to do your tension. So to do the tension, I wrap my yarn around my pinky finger and flip my hand over so the palm is facing the table. I then pick up the yarn with my index finger, and with my middle and thumb I hold onto the little knot you seen when we made our hook. I wrap the yarn around my hook and pull it down through the loop. That is your first chain made. So then you will carry on wrapping the yarn around and pulling it down through the loop. When I'm moving up my chain, I keep moving my middle finger and thumb up with it to keep it in place, because I want it to be still so it doesn't get all wrapped around. So continue to do this until you have made 11 chains. Once you've done your 11 chains, it is important noting if a pattern says make 10 single crochets, this is because it wants you to work from the second stitch from the hook. So we do not work in that first stitch there, which I'm pointing to. We want to move onto that next stitch, and we're going to go in the middle. You will see that they look kind of like a V. Now you want to put your hook right in the middle, yarn over and pull up 2 loops. Once you've got 2 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over again and pull through both loops. You now have made your first single crochet. We then move on to the next stitch and go through the middle, yarn over to pull up 2 loops, and yarn over again to pull through both loops. And that is your second single crochet. You continue to do this to go through the middle of that stitch, to yarn over and pull up 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through both loops. Continue to do this till you get to the stitch near the end. Now do not finish off that last stitch because I want to discuss that last stitch with you. So meet me back there in a moment. We are coming up to that last stitch. Now again, it is important to remember this can be quite tricky to see, and it is important you get that stitch, but you just go through it like normal. And once you finish your single crochet, we now need to be working from the other side of our crochet. Now this is simple. All we need to do is chain 1 and then turn our work. We just flip it around and then we are ready to start the next row. Unlike our chain, our single crochets now look more like a V, and we are not working in the middle of that V. We want to pick up both of loop so the V is on your hook, and then you want to yarn over. So go through, make sure you've got both on, and then yarn over like we have been doing, and yarn over again to pull through 2 loops. So as I said, you can see here how it looks like a V. If you put your hook underneath that V, you pick up both of the loops and then yarn over and carry on doing what we were doing. Continue to do this until you get to the bottom of the chain. So just really bear in mind that you want to be going underneath that V to pick up both of those little loops and then to continue the stitch. Your single crochets will look like this, and again you can really see that V in the stitch. Continue to crochet to the end of the chain and I will show you how to finish off your work. So you've got to your last stitch. What you then want to do is get your scissors and cut your yarn from the ball of yarn, and then all you're going to do is pull that tail up through, and that there closes your work, and that is your first few rows done. Now I would recommend definitely practicing this over and over until you get your tension right and your stitches right before moving on to the next part. But if you're interested in continue to learning, please join my next video. That's all for now. Thanks guys.